Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining the webinar today. My name is Tara Dakovic, and I'm the marketing manager at Gillco Ingredients and Azalea Company. Today, we are thrilled to have 3 Fiberstar representatives lead the webinar. During the presentation, we'll introduce Gillco, and then the Fiberstar team will take it away with all things Citri-Fi Citrus Fiber. They'll dive into functionality, benefits and applications such as dressings, dips, sauces, and spreads, and then review a case study. As a reminder, please turn off your camera and mute yourself if you haven't done so already. This presentation will take about 25 minutes and is being recorded. We will be following up after the webinar with the link to view it again. We encourage you to ask questions via the Q&A chat function, and we'll answer those questions at the end. Let's get started. Gillco Ingredients is a wholesale ingredients distributor that focuses on clean label and organic solutions. We've been in the business since 1982 and have had the pleasure of working with some incredible food and beverage brands and co-manufacturers. We pride ourselves on being strategic, solutions-based ingredient specialists. Our supplier partner, Fiberstar, is one of the most reputable citrus fiber ingredient manufacturers in the world, and we're grateful to be able to offer their products to our customers. With that, I'll pass it over to Fiberstar's VP of Sales, Dan O'Connell.
Hello, my name is Dan O'Connell. I'm the Vice President of Sales US for Fiberstar. I want to introduce you to the Fiberstar company this morning and the Citri-Fi Citrus Fiber line of products before handing you off to Dr. Shuai to discuss the technical merits of CitriFi. Fiberstar is a private food ingredient company that manufactures and sells natural upcycled plant-based ingredients globally under the CitriFi brand. The company works closely with orange juice processors to reclaim the fibrous components which otherwise would have been discarded. By using our patented process, Fiberstar can create a high-value added ingredient which improves the quality, texture, and health of a variety of food and beverage applications. Our company is headquartered in River Falls, Wisconsin, with manufacturing operations in both Wisconsin and Florida. Fiberstar's strong IP portfolio consists of 12 issued patents and 17 pending patents. Because of this, R&D continues to innovate new ways to use this citrus fiber in applications. Fiberstar currently sells into 69 countries in both direct sales and via an extensive distributor network. As mentioned, CitriFi is created from byproduct of the juicing industry. The patented process involves only heat and water and creates a functional, free-flowing powder. This citrus fiber powder's fibrous matrix lends itself to multiple functionalities that we will discuss in the next few slides. Our upcycled food ingredient is created using a patented process free from chemical modifications. The composition of both insoluble and soluble fiber contains high levels of intact native pectin, which give its high level of functionality such as water holding, emulsification, and gel formation. CitriFi contains over 75% total dietary fiber, with half being insoluble fiber and the other half being soluble. There is also a small protein fraction. The soluble fiber attracts and binds water to provide viscosity. The insoluble fiber provides structure to hold the water indefinitely. The protein content aids in fat and/or oil binding to stabilize emulsions. Not all citrus fibers are created the same. Other citrus fibers are part of the pectin extraction process. These processes may contain solvents and other chemical modifications. As mentioned, CitriFi's composition contains both insoluble and soluble fiber. A high level of HM pectin content differentiates CitriFi from the other citrus fibers on the market. Some other citrus fiber suppliers may add pectin back to their product to achieve a similar level of functionality. Fiberstar's product is considered upcycled since it's a byproduct of the citrus industry. According to the Upcycled Food Association, An upcycled food is a food that would normally be thrown away or used as animal feed, but is instead repurposed to make a new food product. Fiberstar prides itself on creating a natural plant-based ingredient with minimal processing like Mother Nature intended. CitriFi provides multiple functionalities, including water holding, gelling, thickening, added viscosity, and stability. One of the key functionalities includes natural emulsification. Many other food ingredients require chemical modifications to create emulsification benefits. Using CitriFi keeps the labeling clean and natural. Today, we are going to focus on the dressings, dips, and sauces category. CitriFi can be used in a variety of dressings and sauces due to its high heat, low pH, and freeze-thaw stability. Additional benefits included added viscosity, especially with the new 600 series, emulsion stability, and egg reduction. Other benefits specific to tomato-based products involve tomato extension. CitriFi can extend tomato up to 25% while still maintaining a natural tomato-like texture and providing potential cost savings. Another perk using CitriFi in these applications is the ability to clean up food statements. Depending on the food application, CitriFi may be able to replace certain food gums and/or modified starches. Labeling includes citrus fiber, dried citrus pulp, or citrus flower, which all resonate well in the clean label and natural markets. I'm now going to hand over this to Dr. Shuai Li from Fiberstar R&D to discuss CitriFi's multiple benefits in greater detail. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan. My name is Shuai Li, R&D Director of Fiberstar. I will now discuss CitriFi's major functionalities and the benefits it provides to food and beverage applications. CitriFi offers clean label and non-GMO benefits with organic options as well. It acts as a natural emulsifier, forming stable emulsions, thickening products, and improving texture and mouthfeel. CitriFi remains effective in ambient conditions, as well as under heat, low pH, and freeze-thaw conditions. This can lead to reduced fat and/or egg content in emulsions, further cutting cost. This slide provides a guide to selecting the right CitriFi product for specific application categories, such as dressings, marinades, sauces, and spreads. For example, CitriFi serves as an excellent emulsifier and thickener in sauces. To replace gums, you can select the CitriFi 100 series to get a cleaner label. To replace modified starch, all the series work from 100 to 100 to 300. In these applications, CitriFi helps improve the nutritional profile of the foods, substitutes chemical and synthetic ingredients, enhances texture, and promotes sustainability. This slide illustrates the effectiveness of 3% CitriFi 100 Fg in water after blending. After 45 minutes, the suspension remains homogeneous, whereas a different citrus fiber results in sedimentation. CitriFi is produced using mechanical treatment, preserving soluble and insoluble fibers and intact pectin. In contrast, other citrus fibers undergo strong acid and/or alcohol extraction, removing pectin and leaving mainly insoluble cellulose fibers. So the overall suspension and emulsification properties are not as good as CitriFi. Here we present some examples using CitriFi to make oil in water emulsions. We selected canola and palm oils at 50 to 50 water to oil ratio to make the emulsions, varying with CitriFi usage rate. All the emulsions are stored at room temperatures for 7 days. As CitriFi usage rate increases, emulsions become more homogeneous due to increased viscosity. In general, 2 to 4% CitriFi is needed to make a homogeneous emulsion under this simplified oil and water-only system. In practice, CitriFi works synergistically with other ingredients, so the overall usage rate is much lower, roughly 1% or less in most of the applications. Here, we use the Citri-Fi 100 to replace a conventional synthetic stabilizer in the tzatziki application. After 6 days, the control product shows water separation, but the Citri-Fi treated product controls water synthesis effectively. This demonstrates Citri-Fi's excellent water holding properties and ability to improve texture. Additionally, Citri-Fi is E-number free and helps improve the overall texture as well. Citri-Fi is a potent thickener and emulsifier, with properties significantly influenced by shear strength. A simple emulsion with 2% Citri-Fi 100 Fg, 25% oil, and 73% water forms a uniform emulsion through hand mixing. High-pressure homogenization further changes the viscosity, transforming the emulsion from a flowable liquid to a paste-like structure. Because high-pressure homogenizer can reduce the particle size of the Citri-Fi, improve the surface area, and expose much more functional groups of the fiber to let it bind more water and oil to improve the overall emulsification properties. Citri-Fi enhances the texture and the mouthfeel of food and beverage products, depending on the desired outcome. Citri-Fi offers different particle sizes for various applications. Citri-Fi 100 provides a poppy texture, while Citri-Fi 140 offers a smooth and creamy mouthfeel, which is suitable for some sauces and beverages. Citri-Fi 100 Fg is in between these two products, which balance the poppy and fine texture. It is also the first recommended product if the customer has never used the Citri-Fi in their product. According to the requirement, you can move to either a larger or smaller particle size. Citri-Fi remains consistent across the normal pH range in most food and beverage applications. Its viscosity and water holding properties remain stable from pH 2 to neutral. When pH reaches 8 or higher, viscosity increases slightly due to fiber swelling and pectin release, which boosts the viscosity and water retention. Other than pH, Citri-Fi is also heat stable. The example here indicates the viscosity is very consistent under temperatures from 30 to 90 degrees Celsius. The water holding capacity of the Citri-Fi didn't change significantly either when temperatures increased from 20 to 80 degrees Celsius, under high shear or not. This offers flexibility for final applications compared to many other stabilizers like gums or starches, which require heat activation. Citri-Fi demonstrates good freeze-thaw stability over at least 1 year storage. Here's the example of the ice cream using Citri-Fi 140 and 120. Compared with control using a combined MCC, CMC, and Cargina, the clean labeled ice cream with Citri-Fi presented comparable freeze-thaw stability and improved texture. Unlike many other soluble gums or stabilizers, Citri-Fi's combination of soluble and insoluble components prevents structural damage during freeze-thaw cycles, maintaining its function. Due to Citri-Fi's excellent emulsification properties, It can be used to reduce the fat in the form of oil in water emulsion. The products reduce fat but maintain the same or better creamy texture. In this slide, we presented an example of Alfredo sauce using Citri-Fi 100 Fg along with skim milk to reduce the butter, over 50% of the heavy cream, and Parmesan as well. In total, the fat was reduced by at least 20%. As you can see in the pictures, the product with Citri-Fi matched well with the control before and after heating. Another popular benefit of Citri-Fi is egg reduction. Egg itself is a good natural emulsifier and gelling agent. Citri-Fi can partially replace eggs due to its great emulsification properties. In the slides, we use the Citri-Fi 140 or Citri-Fi 340 along with the water to replace 25% egg in the male. Compared with the control with full egg, the product with Citri-Fi 140 maintains the same viscosity, while 340 increases the viscosity. The sensory evaluation also indicated improved mouthfeel and the texture. For egg reduction, a Citri-Fi to egg ratio of 1:15 to 1:20 is recommended. We recently developed the plant-based dip using Citri-Fi. I will now hand it over to our application scientist, Mr. Darin Reid, to discuss the details of this case study. Thank you.
Thanks, Shuai. I'm Darin Reid, the application scientist at Fiberstar. For this study, we had a specific commercial product in mind, an almond-based dressing, or a dip. So the first step was to imitate that product. What you're seeing here is the control formula, or my imitation of the commercial product, alongside one of the test formulas. The goal of the procedure was to keep it as simple as possible while still making a consistent product. To enhance the functionality of the Citri-Fi in the formulation, it was pre-sheared and hydrated before the rest of the ingredients. As we'll see later on, this pre-hydration step can be quite useful if you are able to incorporate it into your process. Here we can see the comparison of the imitation formula I developed versus the commercial product. In general, both products were runny with a flavor profile similar to hummus and ranch. The only thing missing was a natural thickener to increase the body and mouthfeel, making it more dippable. The first comparison we tested was the standard starting usage rate of Citri-Fi 600 Fg, which was 0.5%. Right away, it was clear that the addition of Citri-Fi increased the body of the product and gave it a natural feeling thickness. At this point, the application was looking promising, but there was still much more to test. While the first test focused on the ideal process of including Citri-Fi, we wanted to see if it still could provide value in a process that didn't have the pre-shear and hydration of Citri-Fi. As you can see in the images, there's still an increase in viscosity and body even without pre-hydration, but the full functionality only comes when you introduce the pre-hydration step. On to the next test, we looked at increasing the usage level of Citri-Fi. We tested 0.5%, 1%, and 1.5% incorporation with pre-hydration. Looking at the Bostwick readings for each sample, we can see a linear and predictable increase in viscosity. Based on this test, we can target any specific viscosity range that a customer might need. There would be no need for any additional thickening agents in the formulation. Trying to be as thorough as possible, we used another method to test the viscosity of the previous test, this time using a rheometer. Looking at the viscosity versus shear rate, the trend is clearly matching what we saw on the Bostwick, a predictable increase in viscosity with the increase in Citri-Fi usage rate, along with the same response to shear stress. Another important factor to consider is the shelf life. Over time, this product will tend to separate since it has such a large amount of water and fat. For an accelerated shelf life test, we centrifuge the samples at 2,200 RPM for 10 minutes. As you can see, the long-term stability is improved with the incorporation of CitriFi. The control sample of 17.5 milliliters has noticeably more water separation after the centrifuge treatment than any other sample. Even when CitriFi samples had much more sample per tube, they still ended up with less volume of separated water. To summarize, CitriFi can be used in dressings, dips, sauces, and spreads to enhance viscosity, stabilize suspensions and emulsions, extend tomato products, and reduce egg usage. Examples include barbecue sauce, mayo, ranch dressing, tomato sauce, and pourable or spoonable dressings and sauces. CitriFi usage levels typically range from 0.2% to 2%, depending on the application type and CitriFi product used. In conclusion, CitriFi is sustainable, upcycled, and offers organic options. It is processed using patented technology, providing high water holding and exceptional emulsification properties. As a natural and clean label product, it can be labeled as a citrus fiber, citrus flower, or dried citrus pulp. Additionally, CitriFi can replace, reduce, or work synergistically with other hydrocolloids. Thank you all for your time, and I'll pass it back to Tara now.
Thank you so much to the Fiberstar team for sharing such an informative and innovative presentation. Let's hop right into Q&A. Feel free to ask any questions using the Q&A chat function, and we'll try to answer as many as we can before the time is up. All right, I think questions are still coming through, but I got some sent directly to me. So let's start with, okay, what are the typical flavor impacts of CitriFi to the end product? Shuai, can you answer this for us?
Yes, Tara. Typically, CitriFi won't affect any in the final product for the flavor-wise. CitriFi itself may contain a little bit of citrus flavor, which is natural, but most of the application, CitriFi's usage rate is 1% or less, so it won't affect a lot. However, if some of the usage rate needs higher than that, like 2%, and we do have another premium product which being washed and remove the flavor, is the Citri-Fi 600 series, which being used for that application.
Great, thanks, Shuai. All right, let's go to the next question here. Which CitriFi SKUs are compliant if we're trying to make a no gums claim on our product? Darin, can you answer that for us?
Yeah. So the products that we offer that would align with a no gums claim would be the 100 series, the 400 series, and the 600 series.
Great, thank you. All right, we had a question come in through the chat. Do you have any testing data when HPP, high pressure processing, is used? Shuai, can you take that question?
Yes, I can take this. Yes, for sure. We have a lot of data related to the high pressure homogenization processing with the CitriFi. Typically, we're doing like 50 to 150 bar as our standard testing. And we would notice that with the multiple passes, more cycles up to 4 or above, we can significantly improve the viscosity of the fiber and overall texture. And for the pressure-wise, if you go higher pressure, you can also see the significantly improve of the viscosity and the texture as well. So it really depends on your needs, and the shear is really effective way to activate the CitriFi.
Great, thank you, Shuai. All right, next question. What is the preferred way to incorporate CitriFi when using it in a dip? Darin, can you take that?
Yep. So what we would recommend for using in a dip, assuming there's some sort of blending step, is one, prehydration. You're going to get the most functionality and the most bang for your buck if you're able to pre-hydrate the Citri-Fi by itself with the water in the formula. But if you can't do that, mixing it in with all the other ingredients in the blending step will be just as fine. If you have, again, a way to homogenize, that's always ideal too, but I know dips tend to usually just use blending, so.
Great. Thank you, Darin. All right. When discussing upcycled certifications, does Fiberstar align or use one versus another? I understand this is relatively new in the US. Dan, can you take that question?
I don't believe that we belong. There is an Upcycled Food Association, and we had looked at considered joining that. I don't believe that we've completed that process yet, but we certainly fill all the bills for upcycled in that we're using a waste stream to manufacture a new product, and that's something that a lot of companies are focusing on today.
Thank you, Dan. All right, I have another question here. Let's see, can you talk about the benefits of using CitriFi in a fresh salsa application? Shuai, do you mind taking this?
Yes. Let's say in general, CitriFi as a thickener and a good emulsifier, in the sauce area, it can benefit two things. One is the thickening the overall product. So overall, you will have the food body and the better texture as well. And another good thing for CitriFi is it can emulsify the oils and will give you extra benefits to bind the oil and the water. And this will be really good for water synthesis and the free thaw stability as well. So some of the other fibers may not able to do that free thaw stability and the water synthesis. You will see the water separated from the sauce. And with the CitriFi in the product, that problem can be solved.
That's great. Thanks, Shuai. All right, let's see. Are there any supply constraints for any of the CitriFi SKUs right now? And what is the standard lead time? Dan, can you take that?
Sure. We have a very consistent supply of raw material. It comes from different parts of the world, and the fruit is seasonal, so we have a consistent and steady supply. That allows us to maintain stable pricing, unlike gums and starches, some of which, have had shortages in the past. And in terms of lead time, generally, most of the products are kept in inventory. If there were a larger volume required with a little bit of projection from the customer, we can ensure that there's not a long wait. I would say 2 weeks, 2 business weeks is probably standard for lead time.
Great. Thanks, Dan. We have a couple questions here on the chat. First, how well will CitriFi hold up in an expected 12-month shelf life of a mayo-based sauce spread? Darin, do you want to speak to that and then pass it to Shuai if he has anything else?
Sure. From our testing, it holds up really well. I would say compared to something that uses a gum or starch for a stabilizer, it holds up just as well as that. I wouldn't expect it to perform any worse than anything else that's being used right now.
Yeah, I just have some additional comments. We don't really do the study for the mayo application to track that long, but we did some tests based on the oil and the water only. Let's say roughly 50% oil, 50% water, close to what mayo are. And we've been tracking over 2 years or some of the 3 years already. As long as you are using the right usage rate of CitriFi, it can keep it stable for long term.
That's great. Thank you both. All right. Does CitriFi hold up well if pasteurized? For example, 190 Fahrenheit for 3 minutes. Does an immersion blender provide enough shear on the bench to pre-hydrate it sufficiently? Shuai, can you answer this?
Yes. 190 Fahrenheit is very nice temperature because it's not just below the boiling point. right? If you make the emulsion, especially when you boil it, the separation happens immediately. But for that temperature, I think it's good and it really helps. And most of our demos were being pasteurized about that temperature, below or above a little bit. And another question saying immersion blend is one of our tool in the kitchen, do that pre-blending. But ideally, we like to use in countertop blender, but the immersion blender is close to that. It definitely helps to improve and activate the CitriFi's functionality as well.
That's great. All right. Any more questions from the audience? All right. I don't see any more questions coming through. So with that, the webinar has concluded. Thank you again for attending. And as a reminder, I will be sending out the recording via a link. And if you have any other questions, feel free to reach out directly to myself or your rep. And with that, enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you all so much.